Amanda, welcome. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, look, I've been reading some of your posts and your newsletter and your podcast as well on LinkedIn. And you come across as someone that has a wealth of information. You are so knowledgeable in so many different parts of growing a business. And I know that you specialize in helping accountants and bookkeepers become trusted advisor. And trusted advisor is something that I teach our salespeople, not just to be sales professionals, but be a trusted advisor.
Yeah.
So I'll open up. When you hear the word trusted advisor, what do you think about?
Think about the whites of someone's eyes, okay? So what I mean by that is the world is being completely taken over by commoditization, because things can be done through AI, through outsourcing, through anything digital. Like we've got software coming out of our ears. And many years ago, the trusted advisor used to be the accountant or the banker or their local lawyer. And people would go and have a conversation with them. They would go into their office, they would sit down in front of them, and they would share what was going on. And you could see the whites of their eyes, right? And this is what trusted advisor means to me, because it all started when I was about 2-3 years old. My grandfather used to have a wealth advisor, and we'd go along like an IFA. We'd go along. I lived in Croydon. We would go to West Wickham. We would go and see his trusted advisor. I would go in with him. I'd sit down in the chair right behind him, like here, and grandfather would sit here. I'd get given a sweet and like a really nice chewy sweet. And grandfather would sit down and he would have a conversation with this guy who helped him manage his money. Not an accountant, but like a wealth advisor. And he would sit there and he would be open. Like I was like age 2 to 10, I would go. He would be open. He would share with the gentleman in front of him exactly what was going on. He would trust him to advise what to do with his money, how to save it, how to spend it, how to put things in trust, how to make sure he's not spending too much, and all of those things. And the thing that was really clear to me from such a young age was that my grandfather trusted this guy who really was a stranger, but wasn't a stranger, with very intimate personal things around his finances. And we have lost that as accountants and bookkeepers have been put into this position of year-end tax, making sure everything's digital, making sure everything's optimized and sorted. And they aren't working on the high street anymore. They're working in their homes more often than not. And no longer do we go along and have a conversation with our trusted advisor. We don't look at the whites of their eyes. And I think that we need to shift back to this trusted advisor where people like you and I, Joe, can go along, sit in front of someone. Okay, we can do it on Zoom, even better if we can do it face to face, and go, hey, this is going on in my business, or this is going on in my personal finances. Can I have some help? And the relationship is good enough that you listen, because the biggest problem is, who do we trust nowadays? Because anything could be said online, because we can now all do marketing. If you're a good marketer, you don't have to be a good deliverer and you'll still get the clients. And who do we trust? That's the problem. So whites of eyes, I would say, is trusted advisor.
So you talk about who do we trust, and it is about authority and credibility, and they're words that we use. And it's like being authentic is something that's battered around a lot as well.
Yeah.
As a trusted advisor, someone who's building their credibility and have the authority, and with so much online, fake it till you make it, which I disagree with, and with a lot of technology that's out there that's making people look intelligent,
Yes.
where do you think the role of the real trusted advisor is going to be within the next couple of years, when they are trying to get past all that noise that's being produced by people who were using certain tools to make them more intelligent?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one that I have thought about very deeply, and one where I came up with the solution about 3 weeks ago. And I kind of lost my temper. Right.
We'll do a drum roll.
Yeah, pretty much. I lost my temper because I've spent the past 2 years falling out of love with my business. And the reason why is because I've been influenced by everything that's happening in the world and going, I need to leverage AI. So I need to leverage my thinking. I need to outsource all of my knowledge, put it into Claude, ChatGPT, all of these systems, and just be prolific. So I used to be prolific without using Claude and without using ChatGPT, but I was like, I just need to be prolific. I can save loads of time. This is amazing. It's not going to take over my job. It's fantastic. And I have watched my relationships suffer online. I have watched my relationships with my clients suffer because they don't look at my content as much as they used to, because it's not as valuable, because it's churning out, I call it AI slop. I have looked at my emotions suffer because I am not sharing my value. I'm sharing other people's regurgitated value because it's picking it up through going out and searching in the ether. I've lost my ability to be creative. I've lost my ability to share my personality and be the quirky person that I am. Quirky equals bossy a lot of the time. I just went, this has got to stop. I'm miserable. I'm not providing the impact that I used to provide. I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. People aren't getting any value from me because it's AI slop that's getting churned out. And I sent a letter out to my whole team and said, you are not allowed to use AI ever again to create content. Doesn't matter if it's emails. It doesn't matter if it's PDFs. It doesn't matter if it's videos. Doesn't matter what it is. AI, stop it. It now has to be written from the heart.
It's quite interesting you say that. And I tell you why. Because I find that people now are having conversations all day with Claude or any chatbot, and they feel that they're being productive. And I'm writing up, there's a post going out on there, or I should say, I published something on LinkedIn which talks about this. And people are talking to AI thinking they're being really productive. But the question that I'm asking, how much more business has a company increased by using AI, or is it just hype?
I think it's hype. And do you remember when you had a question, you'd go ask Dave down the pub? Do you remember that saying? Dave down the pub will give you
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Claude is the new Dave down the pub. Literally, you're asking for information from Dave. That's it.
But Dave is there as in AI is to compliment you and tell you that you're good. And what's happening with it, that people are listening to AI and it's telling them they're brilliant. And then they go, that's a great idea. You've really thought about that. So the person then gets gratification in talking to this computer, dopamine pit,
Yeah.
and they then feel that they're brilliant
Mm-hmm.
and what they're doing is excellent, and it's making them feel intelligent.
Yes.
And all they're doing, as you're saying, is producing the same as everyone else,
Yes.
which I believe that if you step away from it and just be you, which a lot of people find it very difficult to be anyway, you'll shoot past the noise.
150%. And the reason why is because the only thing that's unique in this world is you. That's it. Your thinking, your experiences. No two people have ever had the same life. Prime example, my sister and I. Up until the age of 25, it looked like we had the same life. We did not. We were treated differently by our parents, grandparents, different friends, different experiences, different personalities, different wants and needs, different jobs, different everything. Exactly the same way we were brought up, but the outcome is completely, completely different. My sister's a stay-at-home mum. She's brilliant at it. Absolutely brilliant. She's a brilliant photographer. Naturally, a gift that she has been given. She can bake cakes. Don't ever get me to bake a cake, right? These are all her gifts that she has been given on this earth. If I said to her, hey, can you take someone thinking and turn it into a product? She'd be like, I didn't understand that sentence. Yet we went to the same school. We did the same exams. We were brought up by the same people.
You can advise her on how to bake a cake.
I could advise on how to bake a cake. Yeah, she could. She could advise on how. But that's the thing. She doesn't want to, right? So I've said to her, you're so amazing. Let's start selling your pictures. And she's like, no, that's not what I want to do. I do it for fun. She does it because she wants to. She doesn't want to go out and sell them. Whereas I'm going, you're amazing. Let me take you and turn you into a product. She doesn't want to have it, right?
Okay, so how does someone then, say someone listened to this and they've taken on the advice and they've agreed with us, and then they question themselves, go, how do I be me online? Like, there's people online, and Clinton Jordan, that we both know
Yeah.
quite well, and Clinton's great. I've had a couple of conversations with him, and I've said to him, I said, if you meet me in the street or you get to know me, I'm humorous. I like a laugh.
Yeah.
Because I'm in sales, I have this ability that I don't take everything too serious, but everything needs to be genuinely a bit of fun. And I was saying to him, but when I'm on the phone, I'm like that as well. But if I'm doing it to myself on a camera, I feel that I'm, what's the word? I'm straight laced. Is that
Yeah.
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 Because you feed off people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
it's
yeah.
not easy to feed off someone if you've got 1,000 people to feed off and you don't know who those 1,000 people are because you're
Yeah.
talking to everybody but nobody.
And I think he said to me, just pretend you're having a coffee with someone and you're
Yeah.
talking to someone having a coffee.
Yeah.
So yourself, when someone comes to you and go, oh, look, I want to be a trusted advisor and there's a lot of this AI out there, what do I do? What advice do you give them?
I will give you the advice that has completely changed how I'm approaching my content. And it is this: when you die, you are going to leave a digital trail. Okay? Yeah, there's going to be videos. There's going to be a LinkedIn profile. There's going to be a website. Will your website, videos, and digital trail make any difference to your children? Will it help them in life? Will it show them a way forward? Will it give them anything that will be of value? If the answer is no, you're not coming through enough with your values and your thinking and your thoughts. And everything I am now creating is with the thing in mind that this is going to impact my children and they're going to want to continue to watch my videos even when I pass, which I hope is in a long, long time. But if it's not, they can go back and go, she's boring, or they can go, she's got so much wisdom. I'm so glad I can still listen to her.
Yeah, it was funny. I was saying to my wife the other day, I said, isn't it strange that my parents passed on and I don't have any videos,
No.
and now the new generation will have YouTube or podcast and to listen to us. And I wonder, will they listen to us? And she said, probably not.
Yeah, right. So that's the thing. And I've written books. You're writing a book at the moment, aren't you?
Already, yes, sales.
You've got a book already, right? So I've written books. And my first book, actually, I'm really proud of. It was a book that wasn't for accountants and bookkeepers. It was for those who in corporate who wanted to escape their day job. And the book tells a lot of information around shifting your thinking. Okay, so how to go from being kind of, this is going to sound rude, but mediocre to actually excelling in life. So I've got all of the different traits of how to do well in life.
What's that book called?
It's called Escape, and it is this one here. It's Escape, the definitive guide to escaping the rat race, starting a business and becoming a freedompreneur. And I wrote this back, I think it was 2014. And it's things like the mindset of a successful person, the 2mm rule, why some people are more successful than others, believe in yourself and your idea, all this kind of stuff that actually, if my children read that, that would be really useful to them, whether they have a career, whether they want to be a mum, whether they want to be a dad, whether or not they want to start a business. Then, of course, I go into the business side of things, but that I'm proud of. That's what we should be creating, stuff that makes a difference to people. AI doesn't do that.
Yeah, 2014. I think that's when I started on a journey. I think I did a midlife crisis around then.
Did you buy a car?
Do you know what I bought? Actually, it was probably before that. No, I'd made midlife crisis in 2003.
Okay.
And I bought a Jeep Wrangler. Now I had a 3-4 month old son at the time, and I bought a Jeep Wrangler convertible with the big wheels.
Yeah, that's so cool.
You couldn't get a buggy in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect to me. I want to buy a monster truck, but we're not allowed them in this country.
No, it was drinking petrol. Drinking petrol. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Very cool.
You mentioned there in your book, and I'll pull back to you, why do you think some people are more successful than others?
Mindset, resilience, adaptation, consistency. I know I'm throwing words at you, but I'm just like thinking about when I'm succeeding and when I'm failing. I'm either doing it or I'm not.
You mentioned you've mentioned before that there was a time in your life when everything wasn't as wonderful financially as it is now. What led up to that? What was the cause and how did you fix it?
Yeah, great question. Okay, so I was married, second marriage. I had 2 children. I had a 5-year-old, 8-year-old, Joshua, Annabelle. They're now nearly 24, nearly 21. give or take 1 or 2 months. And I was in a pretty horrendous marriage. I had 5 stepchildren plus my 2. I was 35 years old. I was exhausted. I also had a job. I was also doing the ironing and the washing and the cleaning. And then his ex-wife had another baby. So I had another child because I had to help and look after that baby as well. And it was horrendous. And he didn't treat me or the children very well. So I had to leave. So one day I phoned up my parents and I said, Mum, I need to come back. I was living in the Lake District and we lived down south. I said, I need to come back. I'd been up there for 9 months. I'd been married for 5 months. That was it. I'm in trouble. Kids are in trouble. Can I come home? So I think it was about 12 hours later, Dad turned up to pick me up. I took the children, passports, enough clothes. I left everything behind apart from, this one's important, KitchenAid, because I never ever thought that I'd ever be able to afford a KitchenAid again. And I could lift it off the side. I absolutely loved it. So I walked out with the KitchenAid, the passports and the children.
What's a KitchenAid?
Actually, this is quite funny because the KitchenAid makes cakes. I'm terrible at making cakes, but I love the KitchenAid. So let's close that loop, right? It's even funnier considering what I said about my sister. Yeah. So I took the KitchenAid and it was really, really sad. So I went back. Couldn't stay with Mum and Dad. They didn't have enough room for us to move in. Plus, who wants to live with your parents at 35 years old and the children? So I had to go on housing benefit. And that was really hard because I used to be a corporate girl. I lived on the outskirts of London. I had a great job. I got myself into this terrible pickle with my second marriage and didn't have any future, right? I hadn't worked since I was 27. I hadn't worked for 7 years. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I was miserable, absolutely miserable. I thought I've messed everything up. My children are not going to have any future. Everything's going to be horrible. And I felt really glum, the opposite of everything I talk about in my book, Escape. So what I did was I went and bought a book called The 7 Steps to Happiness. And I was like, I'm going to turn my life around. Now, this book I bought off Amazon. I can't find it. It was a yellow book. It had 7 steps to happiness. It is somewhere. And in it said, these are the 7 things you need to do. And there were a couple that really stood out. One was charity work and doing things for other people. The other was giving more value to the world than you take. And I went, that's the answer. How do I show up and help people less fortunate than me? What could I do to make a difference in this world? Okay. And I felt really trapped. So everything I talk about is freedom. And the reason I use that language is because I needed to escape the trap that I had been in for many, many years. Okay. So I then went, okay, if I want to help people, what can I do? Well, I can kind of write. My mum's a proofreader. I can talk. I can create stuff. Mum can proofread it. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to write newsletters for people. I'm going to write website copy for people. So I set up a business called Kennedy PR. Absolutely ridiculous name. I've never done PR before in my life, but I was starting. And I would just go out and I'd go, hey, do you want your website written? Hey, do you want your newsletter written? And then social media was really starting to become more prevalent for business owners. So I learned how to use LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I became really good at Twitter and Facebook. And I got this opportunity to do a couple of things. One, write for the Salisbury Journal. So I had a weekly column in the Salisbury Journal. 2, train Spire FM on how to use Twitter and Facebook. So that was really good. I dedicated all of my waking hours to either learning or creating content so that I could build my knowledge. And then I just started selling everything I was learning. So I stopped doing the newsletters and started teaching people how to do their own newsletters. I stopped posting on Facebook for people and running that kind of thing and started teaching people how to do it for themselves. Then I got better and better at marketing, not just social media marketing, got better and better at marketing. And I started to make some money. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making money from this. And then I became really famous in Salisbury, not a very big place, but I couldn't walk down the street with someone knowing who I was. And it was a bit of a disaster. So I ended up going, I'm making enough money. I'm going back to where I belong, which was South London. So I moved back to South London. But again, I was still stuck because I couldn't get past a few £1,000s a month. So then that's when I was like, do you know what? There's a better way of doing it. And I learned to package what I was doing, productize what I was doing, and really niche into a specific niche. I used to be a generalist and help all businesses from restaurants to coaches to all sorts of people, right? And I niched down. I became really good at productizing and then monetizing and systemizing a business. And that's what I do. And I work with accountants now. It's been a long old journey. And I always question whether to say how successful I am. I pay for the house myself. My children were paid to go through, one through uni. I've bought both their cars. I drive a beautiful car. I live in a beautiful house in Tunbridge Wells, which is a beautiful place to live. And I'm very, very lucky. And when you look back 15 years ago, when I had absolutely nothing, the number one thing is I showed up and said, how can I bring more value to people than I take from them?
I was asked the other day, how do I measure success?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to think about it. And it was happiness is how I measure it.
Yeah.
And happiness within my family unit.
Mm-hmm.
If you asked me that in my 20s, where, I lived in Germany, it was like in a billionaires boys club, fast cars,
Wow.
working,
Yeah.
only taking 2 weeks off for Christmas
Mm-hmm.
and come back to Ireland and basically binge drinking.
Yeah.
But, I thought that life, in a nightclub in the States and buying everyone in the club a drink because I
Mm-hmm.
could,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I seen as success in my 20s. Now, 50 plus, I see it differently.
Yes, 100%, 100%. And that's why I started with the 7 steps to happiness, because it wasn't about the money. Because I actually, the gentleman I was married to was very wealthy and we would do very expensive traveling. I had very lovely clothes. I had a very nice lifestyle that looked
Yeah,
successful
yeah.
on the outside,
Yeah.
and it was horrendous and I was dying inside.
And that's what it is. I can feel your pain when you were saying you were stuck and you had to go back home and you got your children. And, I speak to people over the years who that anxiety inside them is eating
Mm.
them away. And anxiety and fear
Mm.
will destroy someone if they park it and put it to the side. And I often say to, companies, I go, look, all you can do is I pretend there's a big red button and they hit the red button and it makes a big noise. And the question is, says, what can I do right now in this very moment to
Mhm.
make a change? Forget about everything 10 seconds ago. Look
Mhm.
now. And I think that's what you did. I think you correct me if I'm wrong, you were able to park all that fear,
Mhm.
get a little bit of security behind you, and
Mhm.
then go, fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the most important thing that enabled me to park my fear, though, is I didn't do it for the money. I didn't do it for success externally. I did it because I wanted my children to have a life that wasn't in poverty, that wasn't limited, that I didn't want them to have a miserable mother. I wanted to give them the thinking frameworks and the acting frameworks for them to be successful. And for that to happen, I had to do that myself.
Miserable mother. Our children sometimes say to us, I hate you. And then
Yeah.
they'll ask you for £20 and you'll
Oh,
hand
yeah,
it over
totally.
at the same time.
Absolutely.
Miserable.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're so horrible. Can I borrow some money?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Value. And you said they're giving more value. Do you think that's harder now today for new people, new businesses because of, 14 years ago, if you think about it, LinkedIn wasn't as popular. It was a recruiting, Facebook, I think, has now slipped off the shelf.
Yeah.
X is very much a truth, circle. So businesses are really looking at the likes of LinkedIn. There's about 53% of businesses on LinkedIn. But then you have new technology coming out, which is giving value. I think it's harder now than before.
Yeah. But giving value isn't about the knowing, it's about the caring. I think I would give no value on this interview today, this podcast that we're holding today, if I was here and came at it from a place of I need to get across this, and this so that I can get this. I'm not here with any agenda. I mean, I don't know what the questions are you're going to ask me. We know each other a little bit, but I don't know you well enough to know how you're going to phrase things or what you're going to ask me. And all I've done today, I haven't done any prep work. All I've done is show up and go, I just want to help the people that listen.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between ego
Mhm.
and actually just trying to be a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, when I look at the world, what's going on in the world, craziness in many parts. And if you look at the family, people just want to laugh. They want to break bread. They
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to enjoy the external world and smile. But somewhere along the way, it's come disjointed. And,
Very.
you know, you and me are very much the believers of energy, as in, you know, what we think, the ether, it's, you know, it projects on how we feel and how other people see us around the world as well, or see us in our neighborhood. And I think if people just could sit back and accept where they are and feel the energy, and the word that's coming to me is love. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And try and bring that into their business. Because I know people in that are very ego driven, and all they care about, they jump on a call or they jump on something and it's me, 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 me. And you're kind of going, what's going on here with it?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll
Mm-hmm.
admit that it's pride, ego, and everything as well.
Mm-hmm.
When you come across a client that is like that, what do you do with them? Do you drop them, or do you?
I don't want to use the word preach, but I kind of preach. I get on my soapbox, and with my experience, I kind of, through stories, try and shift their thinking, because most of the time ego and me comes from a place of fear. So if we can shift them from fear into openness, then absolutely we can help them. But if people live in fear and aren't willing to step from that fear into a place of love, because that's the opposite. If we talk about the emotional guidance scale, and I know that you and I know a little bit about the Abraham Hicks and all that kind of thing, the emotional guidance scale, right at the bottom of it is fear and despair and anger and kind of being really fed up. And then you move up into the middle and it's boredom. And then at the top, it's freedom, acceptance, joy, all those positive, like love, all those positive feelings. What our job is, as consultants and coaches and people that work closely with people, is to move people up that emotional guidance scale. And if they are so stuck that they can't do that, then we can't work wonders with them. And then we have to say, I love you, but I set you free. I think a really great example of a client that has absolutely embraced that was, I had a gentleman come to me about 6 weeks ago, Umair, and the first thing I get him to do, and the first thing I get my clients to do, is to map out a business and life that they really want by design. And I make them go very deep on it. And I get them to say things like, what's on your bucket list? Why is it on your bucket list? When are you going to make that happen? And one of those examples is he wanted to go to South Africa to the safaris. He wanted to go to Africa to the safaris. And it's always been a thought he wanted to take his children. And he wrote it down on the piece of paper. And I get every single one of my clients to share it with me so I can go through it and find out if this is true, if they've gone deep enough, all that kind of thing. And he'd put it on there. And this was 6 weeks ago. And then 2 weeks ago, he came back to me and he said, Amanda, and I said, yes. He said, I just want to share, I'm not going to be around for 3 weeks. And I said, oh, is everything okay? He said, everything's fine. The moment I wrote down that I wanted to go to Africa on a safari, and you made me say and commit that I was going to do it this year, I just decided I was going to do it. And I'm now taking the children and I'm disappearing for 3 weeks. Oh God, it's making me upset now. Upset in a good way. And I just cried. I was on a group call and the tears just came out of me. And I was like, when he came to me, he was stuck. He was frustrated. He didn't like his life. He felt overwhelmed. And the simple act of writing down what he wanted and then committing to make it happen changed everything. Now, we talk about energy. He then posted in my group, well, it'd be about 12 hours ago now, and I didn't see it until I was on a sales call earlier. And he posted in my group, he's just made his first sale. The money that he's made has covered his trip to.
Lovely. Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? Like, how does this happen?
It's, you know, when you talk, I find when you work with a client and they get really clear, it's the clarity, things change for them. And I think what people have issues with is unclear on what they want to do, which affects their confidence. But once you get really clear on what you do, your confidence then thrives.
Yeah. My favorite saying, when you're clear, it takes away the fear.
I like that, actually. I can rob that.
You can rob that. I'll just TM it, trademark it.
Trademark.
Yeah. It's so true though. It's so true. And I was really unclear when I was on benefits and I was at the beginning of my new chapter in my life. And that clarity or lack of clarity, I had no idea what the future held. And then a couple of years ago when AI came along, we lose our clarity because we give away our power to a machine. And then we start living in fear again. And that's the same when we do marketing that doesn't work and we're told to do things that don't feel in alignment with us, and we give up our confidence and our clarity and we put our trust in somebody else. And if our values and our intuition doesn't align with that, we go back into fear. So we really have to check a lot of things for us.
Yeah, I think it's values. You have to understand what your own values are. It could be
Yeah.
integrity, could be family, could be
Yeah.
honor, trust, whatever that may be. And
Yeah.
I think it's a great starting point for anyone to sit down and map out their 7 values and then work on
Yeah.
them. I want to talk about your program because I think
Okay.
it'll be value to many, and without you giving too much away.
That's okay.
And the one thing that we've been on a couple of calls prior to this. It's lived experience. That's
Mhm.
the main thing. And I think the difference between what you do and what other people out there will do is they'll make something up, but they haven't lived it. And
Yeah.
it's like myself, I've lived the whole sales process and the
Same.
whole, you know, the ups and downs of businesses through the years. So w- it's not a methodology. It's not a standard. What is it that you call your product, and what are the stages that someone goes through, and what
Mhm.
are they hoping to achieve at the end?
Yeah. Okay, I'll start with the end first. What they're hoping to achieve is to have something that clearly articulates how they help people in a way that attracts people to them and where those people see the value and pays them well for it and they enjoy delivering it. That's the outcome.
Hmm.
That's the thing that makes or breaks a business, coupled with finances, but that's a whole nother conversation. If you got to have something that is sellable and that's something that provides value and that people get great results from. People are very quick to say if they've had a bad experience. They're not very quick to say if they've had a good experience.
Hmm.
So you need to create something really good. So that's the outcome is clarity, confidence, cash, like all of those things. I call it the productized freedom practice model. And so it is a model and it is a framework. And what we do is we help our clients get clear on who their ideal client is. And without knowing who's an ideal client, you're going to blend in on LinkedIn, like you said, how difficult it is to stand out on these platforms, especially using generic content. So we have to stand out. We have to be unignorable. We have to be irreplaceable. So what we do is we focus on 2 things. We focus on what I call the castle and the moat. So the castle is your productized business model. It's taking all of your IP, all of your education, your experience, the essence of who you are, that's the values, and we package that up so that it's really robust, it's really solid, it's going to stand the test of time, and that people can't come in and steal anything from within it because it is so unique to you, your IP. Okay. The moat that I talk about is the depth of relationship with your clients. Now, I know people that have coaching programs where people hop in and hop out again because the person who sold them isn't the person helping them. They don't have a deep relationship with their clients, and these clients leave. So, to close a loop and go back to the conversation we had at the beginning, what makes a trusted advisor? It's seeing the whites of the advisor's eyes and the advisor seeing the whites of your eyes. And if we don't have that moat with the depth of relationship to keep out competitors, to keep out AI, to keep out software and compliance and all these things that are commoditized, if we don't have the depth of that relationship, your clients will leave. Doesn't matter how good your offer is, if they don't feel like they can trust you and that they love you and that they care for you, like they will leave. And I'm very grateful. I held a live event on Friday and I had about 20 of my clients in the room. The majority of them had been with me like since before COVID. Like they're just there. They know that I care. They know that I show up and help them. They know that I'm always one step ahead of them. So one of the conversations that we had in the room was I said to them, I said, why don't you just go YouTube that answer? And they were like, well, one, it's going to take me time to YouTube it. So they were like, how do you do a webinar? And I was like, why don't you just go YouTube it? It's all over the place. And they were like, well, one, if I YouTube it, how do I know which is the right person to listen to? Secondly, it's going to take me time. Thirdly, I know, Amanda, that you've tried and tested it already and you know what's worked because you do webinars every couple of weeks and you tweak it and adapt it. So what I do is help my clients be like me. As you say, I've lived it and I've tested it. So we take all of that education, all of that knowledge, everything that is completely unique to you that makes your clients then turn around and go, I don't care if AI is out there. I don't care if YouTube's out there. I want to hear it from you, Amanda, because I trust you.
Yeah, and that's it, Nate. It's past the noise, it's trust.
Yeah.
People will, as you say, we can find out information anywhere online, and I
Yeah.
think we're in a world now where everything is available online,
Yes.
and we can find out everything about anything
Yep.
online.
Yep.
But what we're buying or what people want
Mm.
is connection. They want a conversation. And they want to be able to speak to an expert to verify what they're hearing is correct. And
Help with implementation. So you, Joe, people can go and look up how to have a sales conversation. It's really easy. You can ask AI, it'll spit out how to have it. But they don't know how to apply it. They don't know how to apply it in their specific situation.
mm,
They don't know what questions they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what's missing. They don't know how the different nuances in how you frame something, how to pause, when to pause, how to practice, all those things that I'm sure that you're really good at helping them with. And they need help with the implementation.
yeah,
Information everywhere. So what I do is I take everybody's IP, intellectual property, and I turn it into a product that is easy for them to implement, easy for them to scale if they want to. So we talk about delivery mechanisms. So you can deliver one-on-one, a little bit like the conversation we're having now, it will be delivered one-on-one. You can deliver it through group programs. You can deliver it through masterminds. You can deliver it through memberships, lots of different ways that you can deliver. I call them delivery mechanisms. And it's all surrounded by your intellectual property, which you've productized, and you just split it up and deliver it in different ways. And then I've focused very much on making sure that you're building those relationships with clients as well. That goes down to onboarding, how you work with your clients, not trying to blimmin' offshore it, outsource it, like really like be there present, how to be the advisor.
yeah, I think that's it. It's there when they need you. Yeah, I think that's the difference. And there is so much online that you have to actually take a step back and go, hang on, you are coming to me because there's a connection, there's a personality, there's something
Mhm.
there, and we can help you on it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
100%. There's three things that have to align for someone to buy from you. Your thinking has to be in alignment with their thinking. So head.
hmm
Your values, your heart have to be in alignment with their values, right? And then someone's gut has to know whether or not they trust you. And I always end my sales conversations with two questions before I make an offer, right? And I say, the first question is, do you trust yourself to do the work? Because it's a two-way process, right? And if they go, oh, I'm not sure, that then makes me see a red flag, right? If they don't trust themselves to do the work. The second question, which is probably the most important one for me to help get them a result, is do you trust me to be the one to help you? And if they hesitate around that, we will not be able to work together. They
Yeah.
have to trust me.
I think that's very valuable information. And it's about trust, and it's a two-way street.
What did I get wrong to get right? My gut tells me that the answer is I make decisions too quickly and take action too quickly. I've been married 3 times. I've been divorced 3 times. I've grown a successful business, but I've had a lot of failures. I've spent nearly £500,000 on Facebook advertising, and that hasn't brought me any good clients. I've spent I've done 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 videos, got me great clients. Okay. All of that was action taken fast without overthinking and seeing what broke. Quite a lot broke,
Yeah.
personally and business wise.
Isn't it? Is it Bernice Brown, the 3-second rule?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Best business advice you've ever received?
Best business advice I have ever received was when I went to a BNI event and I met a gentleman that does video production. I think that's what he did, video production. He said, come and have a meeting with me. I'd be interested to find out about your copywriting. This was right at the beginning when I was still on business benefits, when I was on benefits. And I went and had a meeting with him, and I was kind of low. I was still working on myself. I was like still working my way through the 7 steps of happiness, right? And he sat there and he said, I'm going to recommend a book to you. And I said, okay, what's that book? He said, no, it wasn't a book. It was a video. He said, I recommend a video. He said, I want you to go and watch The Secret. And I went, what? And he said, I want you to watch The Secret. And I sat down and I bought it was video, it's VHS at the time, right? I was still watching VHSs, even though it's like, oh my gosh. So I put it on and I watched The Secret and I went, I can get control back. I can control anything. As long as I think positive thoughts and as long as I take positive action, I will be able to achieve anything I want to in this world. And that belief in itself was the best bit of business advice. Because if you don't believe, you cannot achieve. Whether you believe in The Secret or anything like that, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have to believe and take action. And off the back of that, I have had success. Best business advice, watch The Secret.
I've interviewed John DeMartini that was on that. And I also interviewed the lady that got all the people for the show as well. So, Joe Vitelli and all of them. She got them all. She's a lovely woman. Her business, first coaching business going back 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Last question. What's the best business book you would recommend?
Okay, I'll be cheeky and plug my latest one that isn't out yet. It's called The Relationship Economy. It's how to survive in a world of AI and commoditization. That's really cheeky. But the reason why I'm recommending it is because I learned so much by writing it. So the best business book I recommend is the one that you write for yourself.
Yeah. I'm working on my second book, Get It Wrong to Get It Right.
Yeah. And I bet that that's more helpful than any business book you've ever read, because you're having to refine your thinking. You're having to make sure it's useful. You're having to articulate it. You're getting it out of you. It's a
Put the
therapy.
skeletons in the public.
It's therapy. That's what it is.
Amanda,
Yeah.
apart from that, tell me where people can connect with yourself if they want to jump on your courses, get your podcast, whatever, because the information that you share is authentic.
Thank you. So I run a business called the Business Advisor Academy. I also have a consulting business under my own name, Amanda C. Watts. So if you Google Amanda C. Watts, put the C in, that's very important. And all the ways to contact me will be there. If you are an accountant, an advisor, if you're a wealth manager, if you're an IFA, if you're anyone like that, then the Business Advisor Academy is where you want to head to. If you aren't like that and you're just a business owner of sorts and you would like some support, then go to Amanda C. Watts, and that's where we can work on in a different way out of my programs.
And Amanda C. Watts on LinkedIn as well.
Yes, please. Yes, do. Yes.
Amanda, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe.